All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ryan Passy. I will be your host today for this presentation on cognitive decline, the science of prevention. So we're going to get into a little bit about one of the worst epidemics going around right now, which is dementia and Alzheimer's and overall cognitive decline, and what you can do as a clinician or as a human being to prevent this terrible disease from manifesting itself in your life. So a little bit about me. My name is Ryan Passy. I am one of the co-founders of Elevation Association and the executive director of the Dental Legacy Foundation. So at EA, I get to work with dental practices, get to work with the dental practice owners to help optimize their practices and to help them to implement good systems and strategies into the business to then use the practice as a way of improving their life and accomplishing their goals, whatever they might be. At DLF, I get the privilege of being the executive director of the foundation, and my role there is to kind of work with our partners over in Africa, organizing trips and dental missions over to Tanzania and providing service over there for the amazing people of Tanzania. So it's kind of what I get to do with my time. We my wife and I got to spend about 3 months over in Tanzania in 2024, and we'll be back for about a month and a half here in 2025 with some additional mission trips that are on the way. So my background is not in dentistry. My background is in retail. I was a corporate executive for a large retail company here in the Midwest and Western states. Oversaw 30 locations, had responsibilities over all 30 stores, overseeing employees, metrics, data. Had 3 regional supervisors that would report back to me in those facilities, and my role was to kind of oversee operations and make improvements based on data and the information that was there. So a few years ago, I had the opportunity to come work in dentistry and apply my skill set to helping dental practices to optimize their business. I also have a 2-year degree in nutrition. Found myself when I was working retail kind of a low point. I gained a lot of weight and didn't really know how to manage that very well. Had poor lifestyle habits, those kind of things, and so enrolled into the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, took a 2-year course there, and became certified in holistic nutrition and well-being. And so that's kind of where important to today's discussion is that not just talking about this stuff as someone who works in retail or dental business management, but kind of as my time as a holistic health coach. So we're going to get into a little bit about nutrition today and how it plays a role in your cognitive health. So at Elevation Association, we have 3 areas of focus: life, leadership, and legacy. We have 3 peaks that we like to call them, and a framework for each of these that help doctors to implement, to make improvements in work-life harmony and leadership and in leaving a lasting legacy. So life is our Everest, leadership is Fuji, and legacy is Kilimanjaro. Partly because Kilimanjaro, because of our work over in Africa. It's kind of our peak we picked over there. Funny enough, before we started to do work over in Africa, but today's discussion is, I think, relative to leaving a lasting legacy. This is our framework for legacy, and this falls into kind of the preparation and training. You can't leave a legacy if you're not performing at your best, and so maintaining cognitive function throughout your life is super important. So the information that I'll be going over today comes mostly from Dr. David Perlmutter. Was introduced to Dr. Perlmutter at the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. Found his work to be very interesting and very cutting edge on brain health. He's got several books out on the importance of brain, maintaining brain health, and the prevention of Alzheimer's, dementia, and how nutrition and your gut microbiome also affects your cognitive abilities. So, in addition to me finding myself in kind of poor health at the time of studying at the institute, my mother was also diagnosed with dementia and was going through some pretty rapid cognitive decline in her own life. So this was a topic to me that was a little more important than just studies at school. This was something that was impacting me on a very personal level, watching my mother struggle with dementia. She was admitted into the hospital for a leg injury that she had, and due to complications with the surgery on her leg, she went in with a little bit of cognitive decline at the time, was starting to kind of show signs of dementia, but during the process of hurting her leg and trying to heal and get out of the hospital, her leg re-broke multiple times, and by the time her leg was in a good place, her mind was not. Like due to the different effects there, her cognitive decline really sped up, and unfortunately she went pretty quick as far as her mind goes, due to complications with her leg, which was kind of unusual, but and surprising to us as her family to see her kind of degrade so fast. But so again, the information presented is hopefully you guys take it in a way that is meaningful to you guys as well. And just this is a terrible disease. It's a terrible thing that affects families and people. And the one thing that we want to stress during this whole time today is that it's mostly preventable due to lifestyle issues. And so we'll get into the science behind that a little bit, but just a shout out to Dr. Perlmutter. His work in this area has been fascinating, and if you want to learn more, or you have family members who are struggling with this particular disease, I would certainly recommend Dr. Perlmutter's books and following him online and the interviews he's done. So cognitive decline, we'll get into a little bit of the research behind it and how it affects everyone. So if you have a brain, you are at risk. So that's pretty much everybody, right? So again, it's a possibility for all of us who have a brain to go through cognitive decline. Dementia and Alzheimer's is the fastest growing epidemic in the West. It's the third leading cause of death in the United States. And at the time I did this presentation, it was the leading cause of death in Europe and Japan. I believe since then it's number 2 in both those locations. If you reach the age of 85, you have a 50-50 chance of developing dementia or Alzheimer's. So again, as you get older, your chances of having the disease goes up, and age 85 is that 50-50 marker. Diabetes also increases your risk by 50%. So we'll spend a little bit of time talking about the importance of maintaining good blood sugar and health, but diabetes increases your risk of Alzheimer's and dementia by 50%. Alzheimer's is also known informally as type 3 diabetes, because it has a similar effect in the brain to diabetics in the body. It's like the brain becomes insulin resistant and becomes unable to uptake nutrients and process glycogen and glucose and sugar, like in diabetes. 1 in 4 teenagers have diabetes or prediabetes, and the cost is enormous. The emotional, financial, health, and cost of cognitive decline is crazy. It's a disease for which there is no meaningful treatment, meaning there's no, if you get diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's, there's really no meaningful treatment that they can put you on, no medication, no routine that's going to make a lasting change. Some can prolong life, but again, or the quality of life, but there is no real meaningful treatment for the disease once you have it. But 95% of the disease can be prevented. So let's talk a little bit about genetics and genetics' role in cognitive decline. So women are twice as likely as men to suffer from cognitive decline. 2/3 of the patients right now who are struggling with this disease are women, and 2/3 of caregivers are women. Though this is another important statistic in that we'll cover a little bit later. So just to remember that 2/3 of the patients are women, and 2/3 of caregivers for individuals struggling with cognitive decline are also women. So this is a disease that affects women heavily. Certain genetic markers can increase likelihood. A lot of times you'll hear about I've got the gene for Alzheimer's or dementia. 1 in 4 people have the gene. Having the gene is not a guarantee. So for those of you who have the gene, it doesn't mean you're going to have cognitive decline. And not having the gene is also not a guarantee. So if you don't have the gene, it also does not mean that you are guaranteed not to have the disease. So it's just important to recognize that. Whether you have the gene, whether you don't have the gene, you can still get the disease. Caregivers die 60% faster than the person with the cognitive decline. So this is an important marker again with the caregivers, is that people who are giving care to people who are struggling decline very rapidly. So it's something you may notice. I know my dad's health suffered immensely when he was the caregiver for my mother, and consequently my aunt's health declined as she was the primary health giver for my grandma, who went through the same process. So, no standard of care. The standard of care is get your affairs in order and good luck. And there is no meaningful medication protocol. No medications had positive outcomes, and we are asking one drug to plug 36 holes in the boat. So that is what, when you're trying to throw a pill at this, it's just such a complicated mess to untangle that a pill just is not adequate to address all of the downstream effects of this disease. So let's talk a little bit about epigenetics. So we've talked about genetics, their role in potentially getting or not getting the disease. Epigenetics is more to do with how our environment and the foods we eat, the lifestyle we live, how these affect our gene expression. So epigenetics are super important for maintaining good health and for genetic expression. So while genes play a major role in how we look and feel, we now understand that genes are expressed. How genes are expressed has a far greater effect on our health. So having the genes doesn't necessarily mean those genes get turned on or off. Like genes can get turned on or off by epigenetics. It's almost like a light switch that can be turned on or off. If certain lifestyle factors are not being maintained well, poor genetic expression can occur, as well as good lifestyle habits, food, diet, those kind of things can keep genetic factors from expressing themselves in an unpositive way or in a bad way. The choices we make determine how genes are expressed. Our genes are not our destiny, and our partners have a 600% increase of risk, not genetic. This comes from shared factors. So a lot of times when you're looking at familial situations or people who cohabitate having the same disease, it's less likely that it is genetically related and more likely that it is due to lifestyle and habits than genetics. So some people tend to think, oh, this family, they all had heart disease, or they all had dementia, or those kind of things. And a lot of times it's not necessarily related to the genes, but it is related to the lifestyle. So also other people who have no genetic compatibility or no genetic components that are this similar, like can cohabitate and pick up each other's bad habits and can come down with the same symptoms or diagnosis based more on the cohabitation than the genetics. So again, this is part of the epigenetic expression, is lifestyle, the way you live your life, choices you make can affect those things even more so than genes. So what is the root cause of most diseases? The root cause of most disease is chronic hidden inflammation. So what is inflammation and what is chronic hidden inflammation, right? So what are some things that cause inflammation? One thing that causes inflammation are what's known as AGEs, or the acronym's AGEs, right? Because these things will age you very fast, but they are called advanced glycation end products. So these are things that are waste in your system, things that are hanging around that you need to get rid of and cleaned out, that can cause aging within your body. So oxidative stress, just like it sounds like rust, oxidative stress, like in your body, things cause oxidative stress, which is like rusting, and then things get old if that stuff's not cleaned out and maintained. AGEs are more kind of like if you burn a steak on a fry pan, where you get kind of that caramelized grit that kind of stays there in the pan. That's kind of an advanced glycation end product, right? And so your body, if it's not maintained well, can also accrue AGEs and oxidative stress. And autoimmune conditions, where your body may be having an autoimmune response to some of these inflammatory causes. Some common ones are leaky gut, we'll get into. You might have an allergy to like gluten or sensitivity there. that, if not managed, can cause your body to respond with an autoimmune condition. And so it can be complicated, but it can cause additional inflammation and stress, and damages stem cells. So chronic inflammation can have a downstream effect on your good stem cells and cause them not to do their job. So there's what's known as kind of the water barrel effect. So and I just want you to have this visualization, right, of this water barrel. And at times in your life, this water barrel may be filling and emptying on its own a little bit, right? Good lifestyle habits cause the water to kind of come down the level of water. But chronic inflammation over time is kind of like this slow drip into this bucket, right? And if it's not emptied, then it's going to get to a point where it overfills the bucket. And at that point is when the genetic expression is kind of at that disease state, right? So the disease begins 20 to 30 years before the symptoms actually show up, right? Poor lifestyle habits, those kind of things are starting to cause these effects well before the actual disease manifests itself. And so this is kind of that water barrel effect of like, it's not really a problem until it overflows, but it is accumulating and can become a problem if we're not aware of it at any time. So you kind of got to ask yourself, like, where is my water barrel in respect to these, lifestyle habits and choices that you're going through. Healthcare is not something you receive at the pharmacy. It is what happens as you push your shopping cart through the supermarket. As you decide to go to the gym, 99% comes down to you. So again, healthcare is not what happens in the hospital or the pharmacy. It's taking care of yourself every day, maintaining your body, maintaining your lifestyle, keeping that water barrel where it needs to be. You are the captain of your own ship. You are your own best physician. And there is no silver bullet. We talk about this when we're working with dental practices, right? There's no one thing that's going to solve all your problems, but there is a silver shotgun effect, right? Doing a lot of little things right over time can make miracles happen. So it's the same way with your health. It's not one thing. It's not one, it's eating well, it's exercise, it's sleep, it's stimulating your brain. All those little things add up over time. And so that's the difference between the silver bullet and the silver shotgun effect. So let's talk a little bit about blood sugar and insulin resistance and its effect on cognitive decline. So it's not such a sweet connection, right? Sugar. So diabetes increases your risk of Alzheimer's, dementia, cognitive decline by 50%. Alzheimer's is referred to as type 3 diabetes because what's going on in the brain very similar to what's going on in the body in a diabetic. 50% of Americans are diabetic or pre-diabetic. If you're pre-diabetic, you are pre-Alzheimer's. So that can be a scary diagnosis. High insulin levels damage your brain. High blood sugar causes inflammation, AGEs, oxidation. And the key to this is to become insulin sensitive. Insulin resistance is what leads to diabetes and, in this case, type 3 diabetes, Alzheimer's. So in the case of insulin resistance is that you've got an over amount of sugar in your blood, and in order to take care of that, your body releases insulin. Insulin's job is to come along when you eat something, to come along, take the blood sugars and to put them into the cells. And if you're constantly feeding yourself an abundance of sugar, then your body's ability to allow insulin to clean up the blood sugar and to put it in your cells decreases a lot. So, and that's allows your blood sugar to remain high, and it also makes all of your cells resistant to insulin's effect. So, which means you eat something, causes your blood sugar to go up, insulin comes in to do its job, and your body cells are just like not listening to insulin anymore. It's knocking on the door like, hey, we need to deposit some of this glucose, and the cells are like, we're full, we can't take any more, please don't come again, and it's kind of being resistant to insulin coming along and doing its job. So that's what's meant by insulin resistance. So what happens is blood sugar levels stay high, the excess calories get stored in body fat, and the body's always trying to like put it wherever it can to again get that sugar out of your system, because not much more than like a teaspoon of sugar in your body can become toxic and poison. So your body's constantly trying to clean that up and put it where it needs to go. But if those areas are constantly filled, then there's no room to put that anywhere else. So that causes this insulin resistance. So the key to this, like the sad thing in here is that when a patient gets diagnosed with Alzheimer or with diabetes, is instead of giving instruction on how to make themselves become more insulin sensitive through exercise, through eating the right foods, those kind of things, the process is to prescribe more insulin to force the glucose out of the body, right? So instead of being like, hey, you need to change your diet, you need to get some exercise so that your body knows what to do when you eat something and insulin's released, it allows the body to listen to insulin and take that blood sugar into the cells. Instead, they just inject you with more insulin to force the issue, right? Instead of becoming more sensitive to that. So the next thing is leaky gut. So leaky gut is caused by when the lining of your intestinal tract becomes permeable due to certain foods or lifestyle issues, again, that then allows things to get through your intestinal tract into your body that should not be entering. So this is what's called leaky gut syndrome. And so when you look at your digestive tract, you almost want to look at it as outside the body, even though it starts at your mouth and ends out your backside, that nothing going through your intestinal tract really gets across and into your body that's not supposed to be. And so this problem of leaky gut allows proteins, waste, particles that are traveling through this digestive tract that are supposed to be broken down and processed efficiently. It allows some of these particles to then seep out into your body, and then these particles become problematic in your system. So that is what's known as leaky gut. Leaky gut causes chronic inflammation and these autoimmune conditions. So if your gut's constantly doing this, pretty soon some of these proteins that leak out may have a similar response to different tissues in your body. So if you've got a leaky gut and certain waste products are getting through and your body's creating antibodies to then go and deal with these pathogenic molecules to get rid of them or to isolate them, and pretty soon the antibodies start to identify other tissue in your body as similar, and so they'll go through and cause what's called an autoimmune condition at that point. So gut is the garden of the body, so you got to look at it as a way to keep your body healthy, and by providing it with the proper nutrients that do that. Your microbiome plays a major role in the health of your brain and the inflammation in your body. So as we're focused today on improving cognitive health for leaving a legacy, you want to make sure that that starts with what you're putting into your gut. There's a lot of new studies coming out on the relationship between the gut microbiome and your brain, and the importance of maintaining those. So over 70% of the chemicals, proteins, and hormones are produced in your gut. So super critical to make sure you're doing a good job of keeping a healthy gut. 60% of your immune system also resides in your gut. So super important to, again, take care of that. So let's talk toxins as the next thing to avoid. So environmental is much different than it was 100 years ago, right? And the environment. Traditional medicine has ignored the two most impactful things that cause disease. One is food, and the second one is toxins. The role of neurotoxins in our environment: food additives, air, water, cleaning supplies, cosmetics, skin products, heavy metals are everywhere. The average newborn baby has over 287 known toxins in the umbilical cord. 210 are neurotoxins. This is a study that was done 10 years ago, but they just validate that that's still accurate. Average woman is exposed to more than 190 chemicals every day before leaving the house, between cleaning supplies, makeup, those type of things. Like the amount of toxins that we're exposed to on a daily basis is so much different than it was 100 years ago. Two most common toxins or microbiome disruptors are: one, glyphosate. So glyphosate is one of the active ingredients in Roundup. So my dad worked for Monsanto, which at the time was responsible for Roundup. I believe it's owned by Bayer Aspirin now. But Roundup is responsible for a lot of the crops, and again the chemicals that you spray on your lawn, garden, those kind of things. They contain a toxin called glyphosate. Glyphosate is one of the leading causes of the leaky gut syndrome that we just talked about, and toxins in your body. The other one is artificial sweeteners. So if you're reading nutritional labels and you see the word artificial sweeteners, that is a toxin, and it's been proven to cause toxic effects in the body that add to aging and cognitive decline. So some practical steps: eat organic, non-GMO, pay attention to air quality, avoid artificial sweeteners, avoid nitrates and nitrites, use BPA-free plastics, and natural cosmetics, tampons, some of those things that are can have a heavy chemical load, especially in sensitive areas that uptake a lot of chemicals into the body. again through like our digestional tract, those reproductive organs, those kind of things can again magnify those effects. So N.E.U.R.O, let's talk N.E.U.R.O, N-E.U.R.O, nutrition, exercise, unwinding stress management, restorative sleep, and optimizing cognitive activity. So now that we've talked about what causes it, let's talk about some things that can kind of prevent this. So nutrition, food is more than fuel, it's information. Your body directly communicates, food directly communicates with our body's brain and our DNA. Food determines whether we have a healthy, vibrant life or if we get disease. Food determines the structure as well as the function of the brain. Eating the right foods and avoiding the wrong ones can make all of the difference. Ketogenic diet, beta-hydroxybutyrate. There's a ton of scientific research out on the ketogenic diet. It was been really popular over the last couple of years, but its effect not only on weight loss and weight management, but cognitive effects. Fasting, intermittent fasting, the nomad diet, which is kind of 1 meal a day, the OMAD, 1 meal a day. 16 to 8 fasting, which is another type of intermittent fasting where you fast for 16 hours and eat your food in an 8-hour window. Again, this allows your body 16 hours to can process the sugars, the effects of food, allowing your body to become more insulin resistant, insulin sensitive. 5-2, 5 days on, 2 days off, and the benefits of autophagy, which is again cleaning up damaged cells that can happen, and improving resiliency. Foods to avoid: processed foods, sodas, chips, donuts, flour, refined carbohydrates, cookies, candies, cakes, pastries, cereals, cane sugar, agave, honey, rice syrup, unhealthy fats, trans fats, vegetable oils like canola oils, seed oils, soybean oil, canola oil, artificial sweeteners, we talked about those, aspartame, sucralose, saccharin. Foods to eat more of: low glycemic carbohydrates. So the examples of these are leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, beans, berries, apples, healthy fats from plants, olives, olive oil, avocado, nuts, seeds, fish, salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, herring, organic full-fat dairy, yogurt, butter, ghee, grass-fed meats, bison, beef, elk, wild game, chicken, pork, pastured eggs. Again, these are the highest quality eggs, herbs and spices, other healthy fats and oils, coconut oil, MCT oil, medium chain triglyceride oil, which is M6 and M8 oil, which is very healthy for your body. Exercise. Super easy to live a sedentary life. I'm sitting right here in my chair. So if we could encapsulate the benefits of exercise in a pill, it would be the most effective medicine on the planet. Exercise improves blood sugar, insulin, sleep, hormones, reduces inflammation, reduces stress, improves gut health, boosts mood, increases stem cell activity in the brain, and increases what's called BDNF, a brain-derived neurotropic factor, which is like Miracle-Gro for the brain. So, and exercise can be easy. Just start with doing things you enjoy. If you enjoy walking or hiking or riding a bike, do those. If you enjoy basketball, don't make it complicated. weightlifting, any of those type of activities are super great, yoga, but just start with things that are enjoyable and that you can do 150 minutes per week, so 30 minutes per day, getting out, getting something active done would be fantastic. Unwind. So what does stress look like today? Driving, worry, work, and multitasking. So again, we don't live in the environment we lived in several hundred years ago where you got to worry about a predator or an invading army or something like that, but our body somewhat doesn't know the difference between that and having to drive to work and having a stressful commute, stresses of work and money, multitasking. Those kind of things cause the body to stress unnecessarily. Stress causes inflammation. Stress on the microbiome impacts your hormones, increases levels of free radicals. Oxidative stress, increased blood sugar. How to eliminate stress? Yoga, massage, exercise, diet, B vitamin, adaptogenic herbs, diaphragmatic breathing, laughter, community, pets, intimacy, smiling, generously giving, quality sleep, going for a walk, playing the guitar, nature relationships, nature and relationships, right? Again, women have such a high profile in this epidemic, like improving relationships is super important. Can't stress that enough. R, restorative sleep. Sleep affects gene expression. We talked about the epigenetic factors of the environment, the food you eat. Sleep is one of those epigenetic factors. Reduces stress, inflammation, immunity, improves immunity, improves your metabolism, your mood. The brain cleans themselves nightly through a process called the glymphatic system. It's like the lymphatic system for the body. This is a fairly newly area of research that every night your brain kind of cleans itself through this system, right? Removes amyloid plaque and tau. Sleep deprivation is equivalent to being drunk, and sleep determines your circadian rhythm. Sleep deprivation causes insulin resistance. Practical sleep hacks are 7 to 9 hours of sleep, healthy diet, same sleep schedule every day, 7 days a week, no caffeine after 2, avoid alcohol, get morning sunlight, cool your room to 65 to 75 degrees at night, avoid blue light late in the day, meditate or pray before bed, supplements, test for sleep apnea, and use a sleep tracker to test quality of your sleep. So what are some things you can do to optimize, right? The O in N.E.U.R.O, optimize cognitive activity. So your brain activity stimulates new connections between nerve cells called neurogenesis and may help the brain generate new cells, developing neurological plasticity. So this is kind of something, again, new research that's been coming out. They used to think you could not improve or create new brain cells, neurogenesis, but they found that you still can into your old age if you're doing the right things. So a lot of it is this lifestyle factors, the food, those kind of things. So read, take a course, try mental gymnastics, word puzzles, math problems, experiment with manual dexterity, mental effort, drawing, painting, other crafts, learn a new language. These are all things that can help optimize cognitive activity. Right? Supplements. I love supplements, so let's talk a little bit about supplementation. What are some things you can do to help supplement your diet and provide neural support? Magnesium. Magnesium is required in over 300 body functions, and in the United States we have pretty much an epidemic of magnesium deficiency. So due to depleted soils and different things in our diets, magnesium is something that most Americans are very deficient in. And so going out of your way to supplement a little bit with magnesium can go a long way. Melatonin, this repairs and improves sleep. So making sure you're getting some melatonin can really help there. DHA, omega-3s are anti-inflammatory. They increase the brain-derived neurotropic factor, such as a really good healthy fish oil, krill oil. Those kind of things can really be beneficial. But with fish oil, it's always quality over quantity. So make sure you're getting good quality fish oil. So the ones you want to look for are those that are high in EPA and DHA. Those are the ones you want to be looking for. And preferably getting between 1 and 3 grams a day. Vitamin B complex improves memory. Folate, B9, not folic acid, but folate. It's important. Vitamin D3 plus K2, very beneficial together. Most of us do not get enough sunlight in the day. So men typically would need about 10,000 IUs of D3 daily. Women about 5,000. You can get tested to see where your levels are, which is a great suggestion. And then K2 helps with the absorption of that as well, the uptake. Multivitamin, always good to cover your bases. Again, quality over quantity. Pick a good brand. Whole coffee fruit concentrate is shown to have some great neuroprotective capabilities. Turmeric is anti-inflammatory. Again, MCT oil is medium chain triglyceride oil. It's what they use in bulletproof coffee. It has a great effect on, again, providing some immediate fuel for the brain. Ketones, it's a new supplement, came out probably the last 8 or 9 years, beta hydroxybutyrate. So ketones is what happens when you are fasting. Your body breaks down fatty acids into ketone bodies. But now they've been able to replicate that into a supplemental format, which can provide great cognitive benefit for people who, again, want to get in a state of ketosis without having to diet or restrict calories to do so. So you can get some of those same cognitive effects. Probiotics for your gut, prebiotics for your gut. Not one size fits all. Test for deficiencies is always smart to see where you're actually at on these things. But supplements can definitely provide benefit and fill in the gaps. Brands make a difference. Use good quality brands. I like Gym supplements, JYM. Metagenics is another good one. There's some great brands out there. Talk to your local pharmacist, they'll steer you straight on those kind of things. Don't go for stimulants, make sure you're going for nutrients when you get into different cognitive stuff. Creatine's one that's not on this list, but is almost one of the best, not just for muscular development, but they found over the last few years that creatine has a huge cognitive effect. So that would be one of my actual top ones on the list, is to do that. And again, dose makes a difference. Make sure you're taking a proper dose, just like with medicine. The poison's in the dosage, but so is the benefit. So that is the presentation today on cognitive decline, the science of prevention. Again, there is no meaningful cure or treatment for this disease once you have it, but changing diet, lifestyle, those kind of things can prevent 95% of this from occurring. So if you got any questions, shoot me a text or comment on school, and I'll answer any of your questions you might have on the subject. So hopefully you guys got something out of this today. Again, it's something that's affected me personally in my diet and lifestyle, and again with the health of my mother and witnessing kind of her decline and how rapidly that came on, it seemed like, although it had been building for years, of poor lifestyle choices. So again, I hope you got something out of this. You got any questions, let me know. Would love to help you with that. So talk to everybody later. Bye.